Hello, 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 and welcome to another semi-fantastic-ish sort of kind of episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion.
It's an episode and you're listening to it willingly, so
We're
You
all
get
about
what-
voluntary
and-
association here.
And we do this for free, so you get what you pay for. But
That's right.
exactly.
before we get started, let me remind you first that we are covered by the BIP No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical in Minecraft.
No matter what Facebook has to say about it, because I just caught a 30-day ban because I said that the COVID cult needs to burn, and that threw me into a 30-day ban.
Fire is a really good way to get rid of viruses.
See? Yeah.
Yeah, see?
I mean, isn't that what they use when they destroy samples?
Yeah, they burn it. Burn it. But yeah, like that's all I said, and I caught a 30-day ban for it, and I'm like, oh, son of a really 30 days for that? Come on, man.
We
Right.
have said so much worse.
I've been told so much worse. No, but it's not the worst thing. Like I told a guy back in, I have Wolf, but I had another page like in 2015 called Anarchy is Not a Bad Word, and I went to like 10,000 people, 10,000 followers in like 6 months on it, and I got into an argument with a guy, and I told him I hope he gets raped in a FEMA camp. Facebook deleted the page.
Because he reported it like a bitch.
Not my finest moment.
Well,
I never apologize, but it's not my finest moment.
yeah.
I still hope it happens.
I was gonna say, yeah, but you know.
If the shoe fits. I mean,
Did you learn your lesson? Absolutely fucking not.
Have we
you want to see me fucking do it again?
Yeah, we can do it again.
unban me? I'll do it twice.
Yeah.
What's your email? I'll tell you the same thing. Let me text it to you. Text you every day for a week till you block me.
My kink is getting banned on social media.
Suck me harder, daddy.
I wonder if I can get that made into a patch.
That's going to be a soundbite.
Oh yeah. There are going to be so many out of context ways to use that quote now.
They'll
Well,
play,
my
they'll
kink
play
is
that one. Yeah,
perpetually being satisfied.
that soundbite will be played at the military tribunal when martial law goes.
What did you mean by this?
Well,
I do not recall.
Well, you see, at the time, the technocracy was not what it is today.
Can neither confirm nor deny that that's my voice.
but we have you on video.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not that's my face.
Plead the fifth at a military tribunal. That'll work.
Yeah, I mean they're so known for respecting constitutional rights and things that.
Well, I mean, it would be a technocracy-backed military tribunal. So,
Yeah.
we would not have that going for us.
Well, yeah. Did you see that picture that I threw in the chat of Macau in China, where it's the really narrow street and it's super tall, all those buildings, and then you can see that gigantic hotel thing with the ultra modern architecture at the end of the street? That's a real freaking photo of Macau, and
it looks like a fish island.
yeah, it's completely cyberpunky, like with just this looming monster in the distance. And nope, that's a real freaking photo.
Scary.
Oh, we do in fact live in a dystopian. Like, never forget, kids, you are in fact a protagonist in a dystopian cyberpunk future novel. So
Fucking act like it and quit quit begging for more, you fucking bitches.
Oh, all of the people that are just like celebrating government intervention and the artificial labor shortage as a result of government intervention, who don't seem to understand unintended consequences.
Like, okay,
Well, the whether or not they're unintended consequences is up for debate.
Well, they may not be, but still, like, they don't get it.
I saw this really good tweet the other day. I think it was from Michael Malice, and it said something to the effect of, by the time $15 an hour minimum wage goes into effect, it won't matter, because the inflation of printing $9 trillion in the last 12 months will devalue the dollar that far.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and I had somebody whose argument to that was effectively just, well, it hasn't happened yet, so it never will. Like, what? What did you?
What was it?
You
what was
can't
it, like,
escape the laws of economics. You just can't. It's coming.
What was it? We talked about it before. Like 22% of all U.S. dollars were created in the last 12 months, right? And that was a couple months ago. It's far
up to
more than that now.
26% now.
Yeah. So and on top of that, the infrastructure bill that Biden and the Dems are pushing through, right? They're talking $4 trillion, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Government Accountability Office says no, it's more like 17.8.
God.
Money printer go brr.
Yeah, you can actually get banned by the Federal Reserve on Twitter if you constantly at them with money printer go brr, turns out.
Know from experience there, Andrew?
I may have discovered. Well, somebody else mentioned that happened, so I tried it, and it turns out yes. They will ban you.
Like that screenshot should be printed out as like your name and blocked by the Federal Reserve, or blocked by the CIA, or blocked by the IRS. Like that should be printed out into like a into a patch that you could wear like a fucking merit badge.
That's what I should do is I should turn it into an NFT.
Just
that screenshot as an NFT. A non-fungible transaction. And if anyone doesn't know what an NFT is, let me give you the world's greatest explanation for an NFT, because I know it doesn't make sense to people. Trust me, it won't after this explanation either.
We have to go into that article now, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. But so let me explain an NFT. So an NFT, imagine, if you will, that you walked into the Louvre and you looked at the Mona Lisa and you thought, I like that painting. And some guy walked up to you and said, give me $16 million and you'll have a receipt that says it's yours. And you're like, oh, cool. So you give him $16 million. And then he walks all the way to the very back of the Louvre, finds one broom closet, opens the broom closet, prints out the receipt, tapes it behind one of the brooms in this broom closet, and then shuts it and walks back and goes, oh, here's your copy of the receipt too.
Yeah.
And so, no, he doesn't tell anyone else that you now have a receipt, because you don't actually own the Mona Lisa. You just own a receipt that says that you own the Mona Lisa. And you don't even actually have that. That's actually in one specific closet. You would have to know which closet, in which museum, and behind which broom to look to even find it. And by the way, the person who sold you that receipt also has never owned the Mona Lisa, and you also don't own the Mona Lisa.
Well, I just saw an article not that long ago where the girl with the burning house in the background,
mm-hmm.
her parents had made that photo into an NFT.
Yep,
for
400 like grand,
400
like 400 something thousand, yeah. In crypto, what? Yeah.
That's your. But I mean, if that kind of a transaction seems like no reasonable, logical person at all ever would engage in something so stupid, you're right. You're absolutely correct.
What was the total on that one? Let's see.
Unless it was like 435,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know it was either like 440 or close to 440,000. It was right around there, which is just
that's absurd.
And again, to reinforce this, that if you buy a non-fungible token, you
495,000
for almost
500K,
$500,000 for this meme. For a meme.
Well, and it's not even for the meme. It's just for a thing that's embedded in the code that says that it's your meme. That's all you're paying for.
Jack Dorsey, the guy that owns Twitter, his first tweet was sold as an NFT for 2.9 million.
Oh my God.
So, and again, I want to reinforce here that you do not own like a copyright to that. You don't, this is not yours. You don't get to just have this now. You're literally paying for a single chunk of code that gets embedded in that image that says, by the way, this belongs to this person.
Yeah.
And it's so embedded in the code that you would have to know where to find it in that code.
And it's completely like not backed up by like copyright laws or anything of that sort.
Yeah. No. There's nothing. You have no true ownership over what you've just bought. You've literally just paid.
It is registered. It is registered on the blockchain, which says, "Hey, I own this," but there's no real legal ramifications for someone making a copy of the Mona Lisa or using that meme.
Well, right. And and that's the funny thing. Like, I like to use the Mona Lisa because remember the Mona Lisa was once stolen by a guy literally just walking into the Louvre, taking it off the wall, and walking back out again.
Throws a quarter on the floor. NFT.
Yeah, and that actually led to the rise of the joke in France that they still tell about. Well, I think I'm going to pop down to the Louvre and pick up a couple of things. And
yeah. All right, let's get into this article on the NFTs then. In true Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion style, porn creators are getting in on the NFT craze.
What, we're talking about porn? No.
We would never.
Many adult content creators have embraced cryptocurrency since they have problems with censorship in the past. So I have to I have to preface this. This is a Rolling Stones article.
So it's word vomit essentially.
Well, I mean, one second.
I mean,
pop-ups.
Well,
I hate pop-ups. I hate pop-ups so fucking bad.
Oh yeah, when I go to look at articles, even if I'm going to find them interesting, if I start getting those pop-ups that are like, "Hey, fill out this survey and then you can read the rest of this article." I'm like, "And not going to read the rest of the article. Bye."
Yep.
Gonna go find an alternative site.
I do the same thing every time if I want to read something on, say, the local paper by you there, Andrew, the La Crosse Tribune.
Oh yeah, the Tribune.
Get, like, 3 paragraphs. You get 3 paragraphs, and it says you must create a free account in order to get this. And then you create the free account, and then they say, "Oh, but you have to pay $7.99 a month in order to actually read anything."
Yeah. Okay.
Like, no.
All right. So porn creators are getting in on the NFT craze. Okay. So it's a Rolling Stones article. The girl, the photograph they use is pretty cute, but all right. Against the verdant background, a woman in fishnets, a bustier, and bright green hunter's cap designs an image of Robin Hood, or drags an image of Robin Hood CEO Vladimir Tenev on a leash, while he clasps his hands together in supplication. Quote, "Get on your knees and repent, Vlad," the caption reads. Quote, "But I'm still robbing you and redistributing your wealth, while I keep you on a tight leash for the rest of your life and force you to watch me fuck Wall Street even harder than you fucked the little guy." Quote, "Making Vlad my bitch" is being sold on cryptocurrency marketplace Rarible for 1 Ethereum, which is a little over $1,722 at the printing. It was created by a Cryptonatrix, a dominatrix and artist who specializes in what she refers to as, quote, "commentary on political and social happenings with femdom themes." Other work includes an image of a large foot stepping on Elon Musk's head called "What's the Safe Word, Elon?" While another features 2 strap-ons. While another features 2 strap-ons bending and almost touching, a la Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. She sold almost all of them for at least a few $100s, even though they don't actually physically exist.
See, that's my point. The non-fungible. I mean, it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. And of course, porn adopted it because why not? Like, if there is ever a thing that simps were gonna absolutely adore, it was gonna be NFTs. Let's be honest.
Porn NFTs.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is even worse than OnlyFans. All right, such
At
works
least
are
in OnlyFans, you get access to something, and it's actually yours to go back and view and
context or has context to it.
Yeah.
Such works as NFTs or non-fungible tokens, essentially, quote, digital containers designed to hold one-of-a-kind priceless collections, like an autographed baseball card or a rare stamp. They have particularly gained prominence in the art world, with Grimes recently selling one of her NFTs, a 50-second video for $390,000. Steve Aoki's Dreamcatcher limited art collection brought in $4.25 million in sales, with a record-breaking single auction price of $888,888.88, paid by former T-Mobile CEO John Legere. And an artist, Beepley, selling an NFT through an auction at Christie's for a staggering $69 million.
Nice.
Yes. Twitter founder Jack Dorsey also in the process of trying to sell platform's first ever tweet, which he authored as an NFT for the highest current bid is only $2.5 million.
But I mean, this is the equivalent. This is a digital equivalent of when the makers of Cards Against Humanity were like, pay us to dig a hole.
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yes.
You're just like, hey, let me throw a bunch of fucking money away on a thing that I don't even technically have or own.
It gets okay. Outside of the cryptocurrency community, there's a great deal of skepticism surrounding NFTs and what the long-term value may be. But within the adult industry, which has a reputation for being something of a tech early adopter, the industry was the first major driver behind the rise of VCRs as well as cable TV. Adult content creators like Cryptonatrix have started to embrace the NFT craze, marketing their works to a small yet ardent clientele.
Well, yeah, that's the whole reason why Betamax actually lost to VHS was ultimately because porn wanted to go to VHS and not Betamax.
Yes. Quote, a lot of buyers don't really care about getting something on the blockchain because they just want to jerk off. Cryptonatrix, who started minting NFTs back in September, tells Rolling Stone. Quote, but some of them really love the idea of owning this digital token and being the one to own this special image their favorite creator minted.
But they don't actually own it.
They don't really own it, though.
There's nothing to say that they can't just make a copy of the image and then change the token and say that guy owns it too.
I mean, this is essentially I mean, like within porn, it's the same thing as like when like chicks with OnlyFans go like, oh, I'll be your girlfriend for the low price of like $17 a month, and then like send you messages or whatever, and like occasional pic, and it's like, okay, but they're also sending that to 345,000 other people, and it's the exact same message.
345,000 people at $20 a month. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Hey, I have seen how much some of those girls make, and the one
that
I saw, she made 18 grand a month.
The one made what was it, $100,000 in 24 hours, $1 million in 24 hours, or something like that.
That was the Cash Me Outside.
The Cash Me Outside girl. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all right. I it's not like it's a bad business plan. Okay, like if you invest that money, because it's only going to last so long.
We are pro sex work. We are absolute pro sex work.
Yeah. It's all voluntary transactions.
True.
Nothing against it.
Yeah, I just think that if you do it and you think that makes you special, you're probably kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
In the past, many sex workers have gotten into cryptocurrency because, quote, adult creators historically have problems with censorship. Explains Ayla, a online sex worker who sold about 5 of her nudes, which she had previously uploaded to other platforms as NFTs for about $600 each. Many mainstream payment processors, such as PayPal, have refused to process transactions from adult businesses, in the process freezing out many sex workers' funds. Right. So this is a market reaction to banking and big business, the technocracy, blocking people out from making money.
Yep. Whenever you try to restrict something that people want, they will find a way around it. As long as the market exists, people will continue to find ways around.
Well, I mean,
which we will talk about in our next article.
They want to talk about, like here they say PayPal has refused the transactions, but what is so difficult about, say, having a crypto wallet online and saying, hey, if I need to send you say, $600 in Bitcoin or Pirate Chain or Ethereum, here's your wallet, here's my wallet. We both have a record of the transaction. And that's that.
Yeah. So, sex workers struggle to maintain a presence on large platforms like Instagram, where they're often subject to shadow banning and stringent content guidelines. Some of them viewing minting NFTs as a way to diversify their revenue streams while simultaneously ensuring their content is not removed from the blockchain. Quote, it's not a perfect solution because it's kind of unclear what the platform's policies are on nudity, but there's a lot of potential for there being a genuine freedom there.
Oh yeah, Instagram, I know if you even say the words OnlyFans on Instagram, you will get an instant ban. It's an automatic ban.
Yeah. Also shadow bans, things like that. But like the blockchain, the beauty of the blockchain is that it's a there's no way to remove something from the blockchain.
Yep.
Right?
Once it's there, it's there.
Once it's there, it's there. So it doesn't matter what you necessarily upload because it can't be unloaded, right? That's not the right term. But
well, I mean, it can. That's kind of the point of this whole porn NFT thing is to unload, isn't it?
I was gonna say when we're talking about loads and porn.
Check. Point to Christopher. Christopher's currently in the lead.
Some things can be unloaded when it comes to porn NFTs. Maybe not off of the blockchain, but off of something.
I was gonna make a joke about hitting you with a turtle shell, but it's not this kind of show. Allie Eve Knox is currently auctioning off Allie in the City 2, in which she depicted as a giantess towering over Madrid's famous Aficionado Metropolis. Its predecessor, Allie in the City 1, was bought on the cryptocurrency marketplace Reliable for the equivalent of $510. It was made by one of her subs, a man who goes by the name Dog Editor.
Dog Editor? You edit dogs?
For only 15.
The bounty hunter, but he edits. It's less impressive.
Yeah, interview with Rolling Stone, Knox says she sees minting NFTs as yielding a long-term financial payoff. If someone sells her NFT, she will earn 30% in residual fees. Quote, the boys who have some money are passing it around in the community, and I jumped on board because I wanted some. I don't want to change the art world or want people to respect me. I just want another way to get paid.
Amen, sister.
Amen. It's fine.
Hey, I got all the respect in the world for being like, fuck you, pay me. I don't fucking care.
Right?
I'm not asking for respect. I'm not asking for you to like feel like I'm doing some greater good for the art world or freedom of expression. Like, I just want fucking money.
Hey, hustler's gonna hustle.
That's right.
Yeah. So Knox sees creating NFTs as having a more symbolic purpose for sex workers. In a world of tube sites and porn piracy, NFT porn helps to overturn the cultural conceptions of porn as an eminently disposable product. Quote, in the old LimeWire days, people were just downloading shit because they could, because we trained people to believe that it was so easy and available you could get it anywhere. Training people to buy art or music or nudes is a good step in sex workers' direction because it encourages someone to invest their money in individualized exclusive content. It's training people to pay for porn.
Speaking of LimeWire and porn, like LimeWire was basically just having unsafe sex with your computer. That's what that was. Like,
yeah, you
that was
were guaranteed a virus with every other video that you downloaded.
Yeah, it was. LimeWire.
Oh, there was LimeWire, there was Kazaa, there was Morpheus, every last one.
Yeah.
Well, BitTorrent, as long as you kept it on a Linux system, it wasn't so bad. But
yeah, but I mean, like, they were just after Napster. Like, I used to have Napster back in the day. I know I'm dating myself there, but I had Napster back before they got sued and stuff, and like that was generally fairly safe. It took forever to download stuff, but it was fairly safe. But then, like, you got into this other stuff, and yeah,
It
with
took-
the porn, like, you were guaranteed that if you tried to download porn with those, your computer was going to have so many fucking viruses.
So I get what she's saying though, especially in the way things work now. Like in the days before NFTs and OnlyFans and all these other sites, like the porn industry, like you went, you did the thing, you recorded the video, you got paid, then the distributor did this and that and this, and then it went out on the internet or it went out on VHS or DVD or whatever. With this sort of thing, like with in the older days with the porn, it was like there were the actors, and then there was the director, and then there was this, and then there was that, and there was that, and there was all this overhead that got paid. When it comes to these with these NFTs, and I think that's what she's getting at with the NFTs and things like OnlyFans and some of this other stuff. Like you're it. Yep. Right. So there's not this great overhead that has to be covered, with the cost. And I think that's what she's getting at is don't do something for free, right? I mean, we all agree to that. I mean, we all have things that we enjoy, that we pay for, that we can't get for free, and we can get porn for free. Okay, yeah, that's fine, but the exclusive porn, to be able to say, yeah, that's mine. That's what she's selling. That's what she's selling. She's selling the exclusiveness.
Well,
and there are people paying big money for it.
And it's kind of the culmination of one of simp culture, let's be honest, but also it's like this thing like that you saw initially a lot with like when the cam sites started getting big and stuff, and people started paying, like they would pay for a reserved block of time to do cam with these women. And so they like, that's mine, like that's my time and stuff. And so they felt like it was also like some sort of additional companionship or something. You have this special connection there at that point that you don't have otherwise.
And in talking to some of the people that have spent a fair amount of money on some of those old campsites, that's what they were paying for. Is they were lonely. One of my good friends, he was in a loveless marriage for like 7 years. And he was getting zero attention from his wife, and he absolutely refused to go out and cheat. So being able to have this, one-on-one FaceTime essentially with this cam girl made him feel like he was getting some kind of human connection out, other than the emptiness that he felt living at home.
Well, I mean, which is the same thing as, as you saw, like, say, in Japan back with the geishas, where, like, if you went and saw the geishas, or you see, with prostitutes and paramours and stuff that have existed basically since time immemorial for people of means, where if they have the money, they can have these other women who they go to for that attention, whatever, and they feel like they have this special connection with her, whether or not she's actually also, doing the same thing with 30 other people. Didn't matter. It's that you get that special connection. So with this, you have this like special, like, this is mine, this is all mine, whether it really is or not. It's what's important is the illusion, because that's what porn's all about, right? It's all about fantasy. So
yeah, it's market solution and demand. Yeah. Right. There's a certain demand out there for the exclusivity that comes with the digital age, and these girls are filling the slot, literally. And some of them are making good money doing it. They're hustling. Oh, and I'm all for it. Free market, and doing it for cryptocurrency. I don't like doing it for Ethereum. It's not a privacy coin, and the gas, which is the processing fees, can be a little high on Ethereum. It's not like Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, the transfer prices are fucking astronomical. But like if they were doing it from Nano or Bitcoin Cash, things like that, it would be a little better.
I will buy the next one in R.
Yeah, you can do it in R.
To the moon has a whole new meaning.
Yeah, the pirate coin is just. The fact that no one's done like an Elon Musk based like meme coin yet kind of disappoints me. Like somebody should really do some sort of like an Elon Musk
Musk will do his own meme coin. I guarantee.
Where's the Dogecoin for doggy style NFT?
That's fucking coming, man. I'm telling you.
I see what you did there.
He said,
endless innuendo. This is the thing that people listen to us for right here. It's just endless sexual innuendos and foreign jokes.
and if you leave the space open, we will come jamming through it.
We will ram that home repeatedly.
Even if you don't want us to. No.
Like
Consent is a thing, but
like an
if you're-
elongated Kool-Aid man.
Oh yeah.
it's coming.
Doge-
That's all that I gotta
Doge-
say.
Dogecoin Red Rocket porn
No.
NFT.
No.
I just
No,
No.
no,
just
no.
Don't Google
No.
that. Don't Google
Don't
that.
do it.
Do not look it up.
I
That's
need to
like Andrew in Street Fighter. Just don't do it.
I didn't want to have even a mental image of that, but once I had it, I had to share it with the world. So
And the world hates you for it.
yeah, I know.
we did get complaint, like we did get message about that.
I heard.
Like so many like fuck you, why did you do that to my brain? Well, I didn't have to, but I did.
It's largely I had to suffer. Like Andrew said, he had to suffer with it, so he figured everybody else should too.
Yeah. So
Hang out with us for a few hours. We'll convince you that you wanted to hear about it.
yeah. I'm glad that somebody else made a meme of that too, because I was going to, but I was like really conflicted about whether or not I really wanted to. Like, because I wasn't even gonna like the meme that got used was like just a regular like cartoon thing. I was gonna go find like a cosplayer and then slap her face on it. Yeah. And then spread that shit around. I'm gonna throw that as an NFT. Enjoy, world.
Oh.
He gets paid. Andrew gets paid to take it down.
Yeah, somebody will be like, I will buy this just so that I can be like, please make this go.
It's the first thing on the blockchain that is unanimously removed.
It would be too. Like everyone would be like, no. Like we will put up with furry shit. We'll deal even with that. But this is actually crossing a line.
No.
Make a Bitcoin out of it. It'll be Rule 34 coin.
You know, Jason, he's over there talking about cosplay, and I scrolled to the bottom of that article, and the very first article on the sponsored stories: cosplay girls who took it too far.
I think that's taking it a little too far at that point.
Yeah.
So speaking of Killdozer, update on an article we brought in the past about the guy with the long grass, right? $30,000 fine.
Yeah.
In a blow to property rights on Monday, a federal judge upheld fines against Jim Finken, a Dundee property owner who was assessed $30,000 in fines and threatened with foreclosure for the offense of tall grass. Jim is represented by the Institute for Justice, plans to appeal the district court's decision. If the decision remains intact, it will mean that local governments can impose maximum fines for petty code violations without first providing notice that the fines are incurring. Just hold on. It gets better. The fines at issue stem from a 2-month period in the summer of 2018 when Jim was in South Carolina tending to his late mother's estate. Quote, I was out of town when code enforcement first noticed my grass was too tall. They came back almost every day to record the violation, but never notified me that I was on the hook for the fines. By the time I find out, I owed them thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Then they refused to reduce the fines and voted to authorize the foreclosure of my home. I am disappointed that the court sided with Dundee, but what happened to me is wrong, and I will continue to fight.
If you ever wondered if you actually owned your property,
no, you don't.
This right here is absolutely telling you that you own nothing.
Yeah. IG, that's Institute for Justice attorney Ari Bargel, said the city's behavior towards Jim is outrageous. This ruling emboldens code enforcement departments across the state to impose crippling financial penalties, and it empowers them to do so without first notifying a property owner that they are potentially going to be fined.
Yeah, I mean that
Hold on. Just it empowers them to do so without first notifying a property owner that they are potentially going to be fined.
Can you imagine if a regular business, not the government, tried to pull that? Tried to go, well, we're going to start instituting these additional charges. By the way, we're not even going to tell you that you're going to be on the hook for those. We're just going to bill you for it. And then we're going to go ahead and take shit away from you if you don't pay them.
Yep.
You guys know it gets better, right? The district court concluded that the city was not required to provide advance notice that Jim was subject to the fines. Instead, the court determined that the city afforded Jim constitutionally compliant notice because it eventually told him, after he had already cut the grass, that his property had been under investigation for some time. Having accepted that the notice provided was sufficient, the district further concluded that the fines at issue, $500 per day for tall grass, were not unconstitutional.
The government has just determined that the government did nothing wrong.
I am
shocked.
The
long and short of it is.
I am shocked. Shocked. Well, not that shocked.
The Constitution protects against fines that are excessive or grossly disproportional to an offense. That is IG attorney Andrew Ward. Quote, if $30,000 for tall grass in Florida is not excessive, it's hard to imagine what is. Yesterday's ruling is wrong on the law, and we will be appealing.
Just the fact that they're arguing that the court's justification is, well, eventually they told him. So,
like, do you want Killdozer? Because that's how you get.
Yeah, that is exactly how that happens. It's you've been completely unreasonable. You haven't, no matter how reasonable he could try to be. I mean, that's the thing. They didn't even give him an opportunity to be reasonable.
No.
Because they didn't even tell him that this was going on. Like, his first notification was, by the way, you owe us $30,000. What?
A fine of $500 per day for having your grass long.
I can't even wrap my head around that.
And they don't tell you until after you cut it.
Isn't there something on like a magical piece of paper somewhere about like cruel and unusual punishments and unreasonable fines? I feel like that I read that somewhere.
If anybody in this country actually cared about what was on that magical piece of paper, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to be here.
Well, I mean, to be fair, lots of people care about what's on that piece of paper.
But nobody's willing to do anything about it.
The people in power, the people that have the monopoly on deciding what that piece of paper means, don't care about that piece of paper.
Not at all. And they never have. Not really. They never have. I mean,
the word go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that happened immediately after the founding of the United States was Washington going to war with his own citizens in the Whiskey Rebellion. I mean, that was right after. So yeah, they don't care. They don't care at all.
Oh, all right. Just to rub some salt. My mic. To rub some salt in the wound. Just to rub some salt in the wound.
Does it need salt?
Carjacking victims told to pay DC tickets racked up by the criminals who took their car.
What?
It was stolen.
Carjackers put a gun to the head, or put a gun to 73-year-old Doug Nelson's head as he arrived home a little after midnight. The Vietnam veteran and grandfather of 11 had just finished his usual late service at the U.S. Postal Service. Quote, as I was exiting the vehicle, the guy came up with a pistol and said, give me the car. You know what's happening. Give me the car. Without hesitation, Doug handed over the car, hoping that was all he would lose. It would be days before the police received the only vehicle that Doug and Nancy Nelson owned and relied upon. And when they got it back, it would be returned with something extra. Quote, over $2,000 in fines. Yes, over $2,000 in fines. That is, Nancy Nelson said as they sat in the living room looking over a folder of paperwork and a pile of speeding tickets. The criminals went on a dangerous joyride, often exceeding 70 miles an hour in 30-mile-an-hour zones, triggering speed cameras half a dozen times. The Nelsons had no idea until they started receiving tickets. Quote, it was a notice of infraction, and then I looked at it and said, oh, this is the time when they stole the car, said Nancy. It all seems simple enough, the Nelsons thought. Notify the District of Columbia that these tickets happened while the carjackers were at the wheel. Right? Sounds simple.
Yeah.
The district response? It came back saying, you owe, said Nancy.
So they have the paperwork.
Hold on. So Nancy sent the police report proving that the car had been stolen more than an hour before the speed camera snapped the first ticket. Quote, I sent it back and it got rejected again, said Nancy.
So
sure.
Hold
that thought. Surely a face-to-face meeting with the hearing officer would clear things up. Nancy scheduled an appointment, made arrangements to get to downtown D.C. and wait for her turn to meet the hearings officer. Quote, only for the guy to not even look up the information and say, quote, your tag number is not on the report, said Nancy. So she had to go back to the police station. Quote, the police officer said, quote, I can't put that tag number on your report, but it's in the system.
What?
Hold on. Because of the outstanding tickets, the Nelsons can't get tags, which means they haven't been able to drive their car for 6 months, complicating everything for these two frontline workers from getting to work to the grocery store and to their grandkids. Hold on. Nancy and Doug said they never expected to be victimized, or Nancy and Doug said they expected to be victimized by criminals, but not re-victimized by the DC government.
Oh, they will absolutely
that's exactly
victimize you.
Quote, I called my council member, said Nancy. I called the mayor's office and they told me, hold on, and I never heard back from either of them.
Yeah,
quote,
no,
quote,
they don't care.
The rules, we respected the process, but can somebody that's a human just look into this and find a way to fix it, because it shouldn't have to be this difficult.
No shit.
That's a quote from Richard Bennett. Bennett is Doug and Nancy's son-in-law. He stepped in to try to help. Bennett sent letters to the DC tickets adjunction, asking for assistance and making a clear case of common sense, only discovered that after all this, the city closed the case because the Nelsons didn't know to file a document called, quote, reconsiderization of a motion to vacate. Therefore, he was told the case is closed. Bennett says all he wants to do is find a human being to look into the case, but so far hasn't had much luck. Quote, we're not angry at anybody, said Bennett. We're not trying to overthrow this bureaucracy. We just ask for somebody to step up and deal with us on a human level and just look at this as a human being. It is obvious. It is obvious when that happens. We get to the outside and we start checking out. Hold on. Wait. Okay. Bennett says there's one more option, but it didn't make any more sense than the rest of this. There's a special appeals board to which the Nelsons could make their case, but in order to have access to the board, Doug and Nancy would have to pay all the fines up front, and because this is going on for more than 6 months, the fines have doubled to more than $5,000.
Wait a second. So you're telling they don't want to overthrow the bureaucracy that has repeatedly bent them over backwards because some fucking asshole stole their vehicle, which is the actual fucking crime here.
Yeah.
And now they're committing crimes against these people. The fucking district is committing crimes against the people for the actions of the people that victimized them in the first place. I can't even wrap my head around this. This is so stupid.
Oh, I can completely wrap my head around this because this is government in a nutshell. This is how they work. This is what they do. And, I just can't imagine why trust and belief in government in the United States is at an all-time low in its history. I just can't begin to figure out. I can't quite put my finger on why people at an ever-increasing rate are saying, I don't need government. This is ridiculous. I don't care anymore. I can't imagine why that would be a thing that they would be doing. I mean,
It's
look at
just what boggles my mind. Why?
so they
Hold on, wait.
they have a gun put to their head, literally put to their head. Their vehicle is stolen. Then the criminals who stole the vehicle, who the police at this point are aware have stolen this vehicle, proceed to rack up a bunch of tickets. And instead of going, like, just the simple process of going, oh, that obviously wasn't you, your car was stolen, so you don't know these. Instead, it's jump through the hoops, little monkey. Come on, dance, monkeys, dance. And then when they don't dance exactly right in a way that they weren't even told they needed to dance, sorry, now you owe all of this money. Oh, and by the way, because you've been fighting it and arguing with us for 6 months, now you owe us twice as much.
Okay. This is some commentary. This is some commentary from WHAM. That's where the article is from.
I just want to compound something on what Andrew said. It's no different than the stupid fucking alternate side parking shit that we have up here. If you park on the wrong side of the street, it's a $5 ticket. If you don't pay it in 24 hours, it's a $10 ticket. If you don't then pay it in a week, it goes to $50 in most places. Because you parked on the wrong side of the street when the weather was fine.
For nearly 2 weeks, the 7 News I-Team tried to get several DC officials and agencies to agree to an interview to discuss how this happened to the Nelsons and explain why, in the face of the facts, nobody would help them. While nobody would sit down with us, they did take action once we started asking questions. After 6 months and up and against the deadline of the story, a representative from DC said they did dismiss all the tickets and penalties against the Nelsons, though the Nelsons have received no record of this.
Which means they probably didn't actually. They lied to the media. Guaranteed.
Yeah, guaranteed.
It's still going to be there. It's still going to be there.
And It's not going to be long before it turns into warrants for their arrest because of unpaid fines. So then they're going to end up sitting in jail potentially for fines that they didn't accrue.
Yeah, that they didn't. In no way were they party to the creation
victimless
of
actions.
Yeah, they had no way of having any control over that vehicle. It was stolen at gunpoint.
And now the district is going to hold a gun to their head again.
And this dude dude's clearly a boomer, and he works for the post office, which means until this point, this dude was completely like, I believe in the system, government, hoorah, guaranteed. And now suddenly, the first time he actually has had to deal with it, he's now seen what it really is. But unfortunately, I can almost guarantee you, because I know people like that, even after this, he's still going to be like, but we need government.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But at the same time, other people are going to see this and they're going to go, what? As we say all the time, nobody is better at creating anarchists than government.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Ben Stone says government is a great creator of anarchists.
Yeah, because if you didn't have government doing what government does, anarchists would have no reason to be like, well, I don't need government, because it wouldn't be trampling all over people. It wouldn't be showing them. I mean, I had about $4,000 worth of really expensive Milwaukee tools stolen out of my truck. The exact same night it was stolen out of my truck, the local PD recovered it all. I reported it stolen. I filled out a police report. I named every single thing that was stolen. It all matched what they found in this guy's possession when they caught him red-handed breaking into somebody else's vehicle. Then when they contacted me about it, I was like, cool, so can I get it back? Oh, well, do you have the serial numbers?
That's
who the fuck has the serial numbers of their tools? And I'm like, I don't have the serial numbers. They're like, oh, well, maybe call the company and see if you can. I called them back after a little while, and I'm like, no, there's no way they can tell me what the serial numbers of the tools I bought are. That's ridiculous. And so they wouldn't give them back, and they're like, oh, well, in 6 months, if it's not claimed, then it just goes up for auction. You can always buy them back.
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious right now?
My dad had his work truck stolen last year, last February, I want to say, early March, something like that. Stolen right out of his driveway. Right, they took the truck full of the work tools. My dad does remodeling construction, specialized remodeling construction. Him and my brother, but they took my dad's truck, My dad called the cops, blah, 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 right? So they filed a police report. And then on the way home from work that day, in a neighborhood that you can see from the freeway, they see the truck sitting there. So they go down, check it out. All the tools are gone, and the catalytic converter. That's what they took.
Yep.
They took the tools and the catalytic converter. $15,000 worth of tools. And the cops told my dad, well, you can probably go to the flea market and buy them back if you want to.
But without the police,
Mhm.
people might be victimized. The police are victimizers.
That's their lot in life.
Oh.
And they're perfectly happy to do it. They are perfectly happy to do it. You know, and I mean, that's the thing that so many people who still think that, oh, you need police. I mean, they're bad apples. Their entire job is, by definition, to victimize people. That is their entire job. They do not, as reaffirmed by the Supreme Court at least 3 times recently, they are under no obligation to help you or protect you whatsoever. They exist solely to punish.
You segueing son of a bitch. Cops received qualified immunity for coercing a 13-year-old into confessing to a murder he didn't commit.
This stuff fucking infuriates me.
Brandenburg v. Ohio. Brandenburg v. Ohio.
Desire to chip intensifies.
That's...
In May of 2013, Art Tobias was sentenced to 25 years imprisonment for confessing at age 13 to a shooting he did not commit. 8 years later, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has ruled that Tobias can sue the officers who interrogated him for violating his Miranda rights when they ignored his request for an attorney. Yet the court gave the officers qualified immunity for allegedly violating Tobias's 14th Amendment due process rights when they coerced him into signing a confession by fabricating evidence and insisting he'd receive better treatment in court if he gave in.
Oh, and they do this shit all the fucking time.
All the time.
All the time.
Don't forget, the police are allowed to lie to you. You are committing a felony if you lie to police.
Hold on.
Yep.
The Ninth Circuit concluded that those interrogation tactics were indeed abusive, but the officers received qualified immunity because the exact factual circumstances surrounding Tobias' experience were not etched in a previous court precedent with razor-thin or razor-like precision. As such, Tobias will not be permitted to sue on that claim.
So hang on a second here. I want to see this circular thing come to conclusion.
Okay, hold on. It's like this. Because no court has ruled on this exact situation, the officers didn't know that what they did was wrong. The court refuses. The court refuses to rule on this because nobody else has ruled on this. Because nobody else has ruled on this. Because nobody else has ruled on this. Because nobody else has ruled on this.
Yep.
This is one of those not it things.
Yeah,
not it. Everybody's going not it.
I would also like to point out that the same circuit court that gave the officers qualified immunity
said it was abusive.
They said it was abusive, but they also ruled that he had the right to sue the officers for violating his rights in the first place.
No, he has a right to sue the officers, but not for violating his 14th Amendment.
No, it says right here. 8 years later, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit has ruled that Tobias can sue the officers who interrogated him for violating his Miranda rights when they ignored his request for an attorney. And then they gave them qualified immunity, which effectively protects them from being sued for doing the exact same thing.
Yes, for violating the 14th Amendment. They can still sue him, or he can still sue the cops, just not for the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, he has to sue them for other things.
Yeah.
That is... But don't worry, just wait for your day in court. Just wait for your day in court, and it'll be fine.
Yep.
Oh my God.
After the summer of 2012 killing of Alex Castenda, Castaneda, Castanda,
Castaneda.
Castaneda?
Castaneda.
I like Castaneda. All right. Killing of Alex Castaneda. Police zeroed in on Tobias despite being told that he bore little resemblance to the man caught on video committing murder. The boy, who was an 8th grader, was pulled out of school for questioning. He was not read his Miranda rights until 20 minutes into the interview. Shortly after, he asked for a lawyer. Quote, "Could I have an attorney?" he asked. "Because that's not me," referring to the video of the shooting. "But okay, no, don't worry," responded Los Angeles Police Detective Julian Pierre. Quote, "You'll have that opportunity."
No, I have that opportunity right fucking now.
You get me my attorney now.
I had that opportunity 20 minutes ago, ass.
Yeah, he was not given that opportunity. Instead, the 13-year-old was given a lot of lies, including that, quote, somebody gave him up as the murderer, which they didn't, and that if he refused to confess, he looked like a, quote, cold-blooded killer. Most notably, Detective Michael Artesia said that his mother identified him as the shooter. She didn't. Quote, "It's, quote, fucked up," and, quote, quote, "fucking pitiful," Argentina continued, that Tobias's mom would be forced to testify against her son. This Artesia goes on, quote, "You're full of shit, and when this case is presented to a district attorney's office, they're going to see you're a cold-blooded killer. Okay, but I'm telling you, man, we have a lot more evidence than you think, and right now, when we take the case to court, they're going to think you're a big-time gang killer who didn't want to tell the truth, who was down for the hood. It's going to look like you're down. You're so down for the hood, you don't want to speak, so they might throw the book at you." So,
and this is the type of shit that they pull. And I don't care if you're talking about the LAPD or if you're talking about City of La Crosse, because Andrew got put through the ringer for that, or if you're talking about the police department in Union Center, Wisconsin, which is an unincorporated town that has one cop. Yeah. They will lie to you, they will coerce you, and they will do everything and anything they can to get you to confess. Because if you confess, then they don't have to provide any evidence to anybody.
Yep. Parents need to talk to their kids about not talking to police. Teach your children, you say nothing, you lawyer up, and you say nothing. Never say anything at all, ever to police.
If you respond to the police at all, you say lawyer. That is your response. That is it.
Just, I want my lawyer. I want my lawyer. Well, and remember, if they're a minor, and this is why it's important to teach your kids about this, if they're a minor, not only are the police actually legally obligated under Miranda to get them a lawyer if they ask for it, before they even get them a lawyer, they are not even actually allowed to interview them at all, period, without a parent present.
Or guardian.
Or guardian.
So you need to teach your kids this stuff while they're young so that should they ever find themselves in this situation, they understand that if the cops are trying to talk to you without your parent there, they're trying to talk to you without your attorney there, they are violating your rights, and you need to demand that they proceed to follow the law that they ostensibly are supposed to be enforcing, and that they get you your parents and your attorney.
Police follow the law.
Oh, right. I know. They're pieces of shit. I mean,
hold on.
But that has to be the only word out of their mouth. If you're a minor, parents,
parent,
lawyer. Parent, lawyer. Parent, lawyer. Now, if you're an adult, the only word they should ever hear out of your mouth is lawyer. If they hear anything else out of your mouth, they will find a way to exploit it, and they will lie to you, and they will continue to coerce you until you speak up.
Yeah. I mean, that's
lawyer.
Also,
lawyer.
don't ever. I mean, the other problem is that he agreed to go with them. I guarantee you, they were like, "Hey, do you want to come down and talk to?" And he agreed to go with them. Also, teach your kids never agree to go with the police ever.
Okay. After his release on June 11th, 2015, so this is 2 years after the confession, the family sought for the right to sue. Overcoming qualified immunity doesn't render a claim vindicated. It only gives a plaintiff the opportunity to argue his or her case in front of a jury, who would then decide damages after hearing the facts of the matter. To do so, a victim needs to prove that the constitutional violation was clearly established. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth found that Tobias didn't meet the standard for 14th Amendment claim because the precise length of the interrogation wasn't specified somewhere in the analog court's decision.
So because they didn't say how long he was actually being interrogated without his parents or a lawyer, they can't verify that his 14th Amendment was actually violated. Is that my understanding of this? Because nobody documented that he was in the room with the detective for X amount of time, they can't validate that his rights were violated.
Yes. Hold on.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Hold on. Quote. This is a quote from Judge Kim McLean Wardlaw. Judge Kim McLean Wardlaw. She said, quote, threatening that a suspect will receive less favorable treatment for exercising his rights is so coercive that it always risks overcoming the will of the run-of-the-mill suspects. This extended, overbearing interrogation of a minor who was isolated from his family and his requested attorney came close to a level of psychological torture that we have held is not tolerated by the 14th Amendment.
Oh, but they didn't violate the 14th Amendment according to their ruling. What the fuck?
Hold on. There's a catch. Quote, Tobias's interrogation falls short of that behavior in previous precedents in one main respect. Unlike those cases, Tobias's treatment lasted under 2 hours, she says.
But they said they didn't document how long they had him under it.
Hold on. Quote, we do not hold that hours and hours of coercive questioning are required for an interrogation to shock the conscience, but because the prior cases in which we found psychological torture did not involve hours of questioning, and because the officer's behavior towards Tobias was otherwise similar to, but not obviously worse than, the behavior in those cases, it was not clearly established that the offending tactics shock the conscience when used over a shorter period of time.
Hold on. Before you go, Andrew, I have to make this point. This is a 13-year-old kid.
Yes.
Who cannot enter into a legally binding contract, which is essentially, ostensibly, what a confession is. It's a legally binding contract saying that I confess to committing this crime.
Yes.
So they coerced him into signing an illegal contract.
By lying to him. Without a lawyer.
Without a parent. And this doesn't somehow violates his 14th Amendment rights because it says it's not tolerated by the 14th Amendment. But because they had him for under 2 hours, which I don't know how they know that because they didn't document how long they had him, it doesn't constitute a shock to the conscience, and therefore he's not. This is such a fucked up circular clusterfuck of word vomit.
So basically what they're saying is that it only shocks the conscience if we go over 2 hours. That there's a limit. So I can psychologically torture a minor, but as long as I do it for less than 2 hours, it's all honky dory. We're peachy keen, guys. It was only an hour and 58 minutes that I psychologically tortured this child.
Yes.
So therefore it's okay. And the fact, so again, what we were just talking about with how the people in government and in power don't care about the magical piece of paper. In this instance, they literally just said that it violates the magical piece of paper and then said, but I don't care because no one else has ruled specifically that this amount of time
violates the magical
violation of it. So whether I say it is or not, I'm just going to go ahead.
They're taking away the soapbox. They're taking away the ballot box. Hell, at this point, they're taking away the jury box. There's only one left.
Yep.
Hold on. Wait. It does get better.
I don't want to hear that out of you right now. I am seriously racking around into this mess.
I saw you turn around. I thought you were loading a magazine.
No, I was looking for my gun case. I had my 10 mil in it.
All right. Though it sounds fantastical, that's to be expected when qualified immunity, which continues to shield government officials from misconduct even when their victims have viable cases against them. Fortunately, the Ninth Circuit denied the officer's qualified immunity request on the Miranda claim, meaning that Tobias can sue the officers for that violation. right? So he can sue them for the lack of the Miranda, but not for violating his 14th.
Fucking
But-
Right? Hold on. Quote, the LAPD detectives suggested that Tobias's question was not clearly established as unambiguous because we have found statements such as, quote, I think I would like to talk to a lawyer. Maybe he ought to see an attorney. Or, quote, I don't want to talk to, or I might want to talk to a lawyer. Ambiguous, notes Wadlaw. This is the judge.
We've covered that before in a couple
But
of other
Tobias's
articles.
request was
Yep.
not, in fact, ambiguous, something he'll be able to sue for. He asked directly for an attorney, a request the officers ignored.
Yeah, I mean we've covered before when the guy said, "Well, I want a lawyer dog." That they decide that the court said, "Well, but you said that you wanted a lawyer dog," and they couldn't find a dog that was a qualified attorney, so therefore it didn't count.
I remember that article.
That was
bad.
so stupid.
But I mean these are the hoops. These are the hoops that they will jump through to get to still violate your rights, get their thugs to be able to do anything they want to anyone they want, and you have no recourse for any of it because they will go through so many hoops and they will do so much doublespeak and they will talk themselves into a fucking Mobius strip to the point that there's nothing you can do. Anyone who thinks, oh, well, you just wait for your day in court. This is what happens if you try to wait for your day in court. They lie to you. They manipulate you. They go, oh, well, technically, yeah, this violated the Constitution. But because there's no law that says that anything should happen if they violate the Constitution, then in this instance, then I guess it's okay.
It's not even a law.
Well,
It's because there's no jurisprudence. There's no legal precedent set out there that says this exact instance occurred once before.
The court won't rule because no previous court has ruled, 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 because no previous court has ruled.
And this isn't even the first time that we've had this.
No,
we've talked about this. This isn't even like the fourth time. Yeah, this isn't even the fourth time that we've talked about this where a court does that, where they're like, well, no one has ruled before. But everyone before said, well, no one's ruled before. And no one will rule. And as long as they don't, they can keep using that excuse.
Fuck you over the rolls.
They don't care about your constitutional rights. The government doesn't care. The police certainly don't care. The courts don't care. They don't care about your legal rights. You cannot rely on them in any way, shape, or form to protect your legal rights at all, ever.
And I want to reiterate this from the cheap seats for everybody listening right now. Do not ever volunteer information to law enforcement of any kind. I don't care if they come up and they flash a federal badge in front of your face. I don't care who they think they are. Never, ever openly speak with law enforcement.
Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to cops. Don't talk to cops. You know what? Also teach your children. Don't talk to cops. Don't ever talk to cops. No, not even then. Still don't talk to cops. Never talk to cops. You really should not ever talk to cops. I don't know how much more clear we can make this. Don't fucking talk to
the cops. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. I don't care if they're standing on your porch and I just want to come in and talk to you. No.
Fuck off.
Fuck off.
If
you can sit at my table out there and you can yell at me through the door, I will not talk to you.
Oh, if you guys are listening and not watching, Andrew and Christopher are both red. They're so livid.
Oh my God. And this is coming from somebody who used to believe in the system. I used to.
We all believed in the system.
Yeah, I've
had good interactions with cops. I've had bad interactions with cops. I had my truck illegally searched by a warrant because they found an empty shell casing in my truck.
Which is not illegal.
Yes.
But that was enough for a judge to grant a warrant to search my vehicle for illegal weapons.
Oh, and the thing is, like, I was arrested once when I was 14. I was 14 years old and I was arrested. Cop never told my mom that she could come with. Brought me down. Never gave me Miranda rights, anything else. And I knew what he was doing the whole time. And so because my mom immediately then called a lawyer and the lawyer showed up and basically went, you're going to go ahead and let him go. And all of this is poison tree. And because I knew it was going to be poison tree, I also brought up all sorts of other stuff that was connected within that interview that could be connected, people that they could go talk to, everything else about the incident, because it's now also connected to the poison tree, which means it's also now inadmissible. And I knew it was going to be, so I made sure to make sure that absolutely everything was included in that, which means they have no evidence of anything and got to let me walk. And then I got to walk and I got an official apology from the Viroqua PD and for violating my legal rights. And I got to walk. But that is a fluke. That is a fluke because because as the cops had me in custody doing that, one, I'm smarter than they are, but two, I knew that an attorney would be on the way to show up and be like, no. All
right.
No. So what you should be doing if you are a parent, you have children, you need to understand that the children may wind up in this situation. Again, he had nothing to do with this incident whatsoever, nothing. And he still wound up in this situation through no fault of his own. You need to realize that you need to teach your children from a young age, do not talk to police. Never talk to police, ever, ever, ever. Lawyer up immediately, say nothing. Don't let them scare you. Don't let them intimidate you. Tell them I want a lawyer, and that is all you should be saying is I want my parent, I want a lawyer. I want my parent, I want a lawyer. That is it, and you need to teach them that. Because if they don't know, if that isn't hammered into their head that that's what they need to do, the cops will figure out a way to scare them into admitting to things that they didn't do.
So,
and that is their job, is to secure conviction.
Well, no,
they don't. No, that is their job. Law enforcement. If it makes it look like they're enforcing the law because they're scaring kids into admitting to shit that they didn't do, then they're quote unquote doing their job.
All right,
that's exactly what's happening.
Let's talk about doing their job. DOJ unveils proposed rule targeting ghost guns, which will have absolutely no
signal. I swear, feds, I just bought it for deer hunting. Come and take it.
Take it.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, real quick before you get going, can you drop that link so I can follow along?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, put that in the chat for you.
Also, I just want to point out that, what we were just talking about with the fact that once things are in the blockchain, you can't remove them. Just saying.
There's there's what, like 300 something plans on deterrence suspense now, or
I think there's more than that, to be honest with you. There is an
really?
enormous amount. Yeah, there's stuff being added all the time. There's improvements and improved designs being added all the time. It's this endless thing. And I don't even own a 3D printer, but I check it regularly just to see if there's any interest.
This is not just about 3D printers. This is also about 80% lowers and all that good stuff. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
I may or may not. This isn't even polymer. This is aluminum.
Oh, that's aluminum.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Yep.
The Biden administration released a new proposed rule late Friday afternoon imposing new restrictions on home-built firearms and attempting to redefine what a receiver is, delivering the first salvo in what is expected to be a barrage of regulations aimed at the firearm industry and gun owners in the months ahead. In a press release issued by the Department of Justice, Attorney General Merrick Garland, who's an asshole, spun the new proposal as an attempt to, quote, update the definition of a firearm in a regulated part for the first time since 1968.
Well, and remember, we've covered that issue before with the fact that under the legal definition, an AR-15 lower is not a receiver. It's not required to be serialized component, which means the AR does not have one. And every time that's been challenged in court because of the legal definition.
In federal court.
Yeah. Because of the legal definition being actually defined in the law. They do not get Chevron deference, so they just drop the case lest that become established jurisprudence.
Yes. Oh, Christopher's camera just popped back on.
I went to go get something as reference for the story.
Though he neglected to mention that the definitions are part of the Gun Control Act of 1968, legislation passed by Congress and not imposed via executive action or through rulemaking.
Which means he doesn't get Chevron deference to modify it. It's got to be legislation.
Okay, so press release from the DOJ says, to help keep guns from being sold to convicted felons and other prohibited purchasers, the rule would make clear that the retailers must run background checks before selling kits that contain parts necessary for someone to readily make a gun at home.
Define readily.
Okay, I would also like to point out how many criminals do you think actually go through the hassle of?
Well, okay, I saw a thing the other day about that. About police have confiscated in the like the past 3 years or whatever is police have confiscated something like 380 quote ghost guns. Only 12 have gone to a conviction.
Yep. So 12, they've confiscated 380, but only 12 have actually been the result of an actual crime as confirmed by the courts and jury of the peers, yada, yada, yada.
Only 12 are actually illegal.
Right. So 12 in what, 3 years you said?
Something like that, yeah.
12 firearms in 3 years. Criminals are not going to go through the hassle.
Well, not only the hassle. Well, let's discuss it. I mean, like there's two options when it comes to a quote ghost gun, right? You go the 80% route, or you go the 3D printed route, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go the 3D printed route, you have to buy the printer, which is in the neighborhood of $250-$300 for the good one. You have to do all the upgrading on it. Mm-hmm. You have to download the plans. You have to print out. You have to do test print. You have to get all the filament, and you have to keep practicing it until you get it right. Right. Nobody gets right on the first time. So it's a labor intensive process. Right. So you're out 300 after all the filament and stuff. You're looking at 350-ish for the printer. Yep. And then after that, once you get it done, once you get it all dialed in, the Glock lowers, 3D printed Glock lowers, they're like I think like $250 or $3 in filament to print. Or you go the 80% route. Right, so if you're going to 80% in Glock, you're looking at, or 80% Glock lower, you're looking at like I think like on the low end, I've seen them for like $85.
I think the cheapest ones I've seen have been right around the $130 mark.
Like I've seen them like $109, $129. So you're already looking at in the neighborhood of $100 for the just for the lower, right? And then there's the jig. And all the other stuff, kit. All the accoutrements that come with it. So you're looking at $150 plus the parts kit's like another $400, close to $500. So you're looking at $550, $600, right, for the Glock, and that's not including the drill press, the machining, right? If you're going to use a Dremel or if you're going to use like actual machining equipment, so you're out that price also. Right, and that's again still not including the magazines and the ammunition, all that good stuff. But so either way, whichever route you go to do your first one, it's the same price as a Glock as to buy a Glock.
Yeah, and most people don't want to go through the hassle
to legally buy a Glock.
Yeah, and most people, the vast majority of people, don't want to go through that hassle. So they'll just go through the background check, file the paperwork, and they'll buy one off the shelf that's already made and ready to shoot.
That's if you go the legal route, or you can buy a stolen one on the street
for about $200 cash.
$250, yeah. So I mean, I'll tell you which route is cheaper.
Well, yeah, I mean, and on top of that, I mean, you got to remember that the average criminal is probably who's using a gun for for nefarious purposes is probably not going to want to have a huge connection to this ghost gun, right? Like if you have a 3D printer sitting in your house and all this other stuff, and you have a computer whose hard drive is full of these 3D printer files, and that's enough of a connection for the cops to make to arrest you. So
Yeah.
you're not going to bother to do that.
Yeah,
Instead,
they
you're
can
gonna buy
they
some
can
cheap.
the same way that they can do like they could tell what bullet come from what gun. They can do the same thing with tool markings.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yep.
yeah, I mean it's and like imagine you have the jig sitting in your house to mill out, and you have an end mill for your router, and you have the vices and everything. That's all they're gonna need.
Or the 3D printer.
Yeah, that's all they're gonna need, and so obviously no criminal's gonna
Just
do that.
having
I
one
mean,
of these is enough to get you arrested.
yeah, they're going to be able to connect you. Most criminals who are actually going to do criminal things with their guns are probably using either they are buying stolen guns, stealing the guns themselves, or they're doing the library gun thing, which I'm sure that we're all familiar with and have heard of people with library guns, where gangs have a bunch of guns that are hidden somewhere that are used for crime after crime after crime after crime, and get checked out to the criminal to go do that thing.
Yep.
They're not going to bother to go through that effort.
Yeah. So, okay, two things in this statement that I really want to hark on. Run background checks before selling kits. It does not define what a kit is. Are we talking like the Polymer 80 ready to build kits, or are we talking like parts kits? Like if I were to buy all the different parts, like from Brownells on one ticket, would that count as a kit? Would that force them to run a background check?
Yeah, is just lower parts going to be a kit?
The basic Polymer 80 kit comes with the 80% frame, the jig,
the 80% jig,
the drill bits, and then there's
But is that a kit? Is that a kit?
Because I bought this on its own. No jig, no nothing. I just bought it on its own because the company that sold these.
Andrew's holding up an 80% AR lower.
An aluminum 80% lower. This was from the guys in California who got raided.
Arms, whatever it is.
Aries Arms.
Aries Arms, yeah.
It was Aries. So this was
Firearms Unknown.
Yeah, before they changed their name. Right before they changed their name, but after the raid is when I bought this from them. But I didn't buy their jig because I don't like their jig. So I was going to buy a different one. But is this a kit, just buying this piece, or does it also have to be the jig? And if I just buy the jig, is that a kit? Or if I just buy this, is this a kit? Or do they have to be purchased together?
What if is the CMMG lower parts kit? Is that technically a kit under this definition?
Yeah.
Right. And then also I want to hark on the necessary for someone to readily make the gun at home. Okay. Readily. Right. Yeah. Are we talking 80% kits? Right. Or are we talking 80% lowers? Are they going to redefine it as to partial lowers?
Yeah. Right? See, that's the thing that's
my thing is when we're going this, are we talking 80% lowers? Is that the threshold? Because if it's 80% lowers, the market's going to respond with 75% lowers.
Yeah. I mean, this is not defined as a firearm because it is not readily, by definition, convertible. You have to have some machining knowledge to be able to take this hunk of aluminum and turn it into something that can accept parts and turn into a lower for an AR-15. You have to have that knowledge. As of right now, this is just a piece of aluminum. There's nothing this is not readily doable. I can't just hand this to somebody with absolutely no machining knowledge at all and have them turn this into a gun.
Yeah, and at what point does it become, quote, readily? Like I said, if we're talking 80% parts kits, right? Well, the market's going to respond with 75% marks. 75% parts kits.
And if they keep regulating it down, what you'll end up getting is a hunk of aluminum that's in the shape of an AR receiver or AR lower with nothing drilled out.
Yes.
And then they'll get you a jig, and then you can buy a jig that has all the holes, everything.
Or they'll or people will just start looking at what the tech specs are from, at what depth all the cuts need to be and everything, and just do it themselves. Because you can do that right now. You can buy a block of aluminum, find all of the tech specs for how that needs to be milled.
Yeah,
easily. Just make
all
one.
All over the internet. It's as popular as
I was just
3D
watching
plans.
Yeah, I was just watching a video on YouTube the other day. A guy took a whole bunch of scrap brass that he picked up at the range, melted it all down,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
milled himself an AR-10 receiver out of it.
You
Yeah.
can totally do that. The Ludi, right? The famous the Ludi, the expedient home built firearms. I have a copy of that book. It cost a lot of money, by the way.
All right.
A lot of money.
Um,
But like that's all made out of sheet metal. That's just hammered over wooden jigs and made out of sheet metal. Does that mean if I buy a bunch of sheet metal that now that's a kit?
Yeah. To help law enforcement trace guns used in a crime, the rule would require manufacturers to include a serial number on the firearm, quote, frame or receiver in easy-to-build firearms kits. Again, it does not identify what is a easy-to-build kit. I'm assuming at this point it is talking about the polymer 80, ready-to-build kits.
Well, and don't forget, I just want to interject and say, don't forget here that what established their ability to start redefining things, despite the fact that they don't actually have Chevron deference, is Donald Trump's executive order
on
that
the bump stocks.
redefined bump stocks as a machine gun.
Yep, which got recently overturned.
Yes.
I mean, they're appealing, but it got recently overturned.
But again, that's because you don't actually get Chevron deference, because
Yeah.
the definition of a firearm is in the law, so Chevron deference does not exist.
So, and this is my favorite one. This is this one makes me laugh the most. To help reduce the number of quote ghost guns on our streets, the rule would set out requirements for federal licensed firearms dealers to have a serial number added to 3D printed guns or other unserialized firearms they take into inventory.
They can't take unserialized firearms into inventory.
I have never heard of a federal firearms licensed seller buying a 3D printed firearm.
They can't.
Actually, they can, but but they have to be an SOT where they can serialize it and then submit that.
Like I've seen like Brandon Herrera when he does the Plasnikov and a couple other ones. But he has, like, what is it, the Form 4 or Form 7, whatever it is.
You have to be either a SOT 1 or a SOT 2.
Yeah.
So you have to have an FFL already. You have to be a licensed firearms manufacturer, which really isn't that hard to become, but it is expensive. I used to have a SOT 2 once upon a time. I don't anymore, but I did once upon a time. It's not that hard. It's just really, really expensive. And they talk to everyone you have ever known, ever.
Well, and
so I'm not getting one.
I might skip around here with the article, but I know part of these rules are for like ARs. Right now, you can go and you can buy this, which is an AR-15 completed upper receiver with a 16-inch barrel on it. Everything's here, bolt carrier group, everything. And there's no serial number on this. No background check is required, because if you already have one of these, all you need is one of these.
Well, by definition, it is not needed to be a serialized part.
Correct, but as
of course,
part
by
of
definition,
these
neither does
right, by definition, neither does the Lord. But as part of this rulemaking, they want to have this also become a serialized part, because between the two, they make a completed firearm, because all of the parts necessary are in both pieces. So if I were to take this and hold it side by side, taken apart, I have two firearms under this rule. If I put it together, I have one.
I think they're just referencing the lowers.
No, I actually saw a couple other videos on this, and there's a part of it where they actually talk about this needs to be serialized and this needs to be serialized. And they've gone so far as, if they really hammered it down, they could say that, oh, well, every component has to be serialized. So that way your trigger group has to be serialized.
There are certain countries where the serialized components are actually like the fire group.
Yeah.
So the hammer, the trigger, all of that actually needs to be serialized. That is the fire.
Well, that's like the P320 is that way.
Yeah, there are a lot of countries in Europe
yeah.
where that's how they define it. It's just the fire control group is the serialized component that is the firearm, which is also why in some of those countries you can buy what used to be a military issue full auto AK, drop the semi-auto fire control group in it, and now it's just a regular firearm and it's not a machine gun anymore because the serialized component is the control group, and whether or not it could also accept the other parts is irrelevant. In fact, the United States is the only country I'm currently aware of where once a machine gun, always a machine gun applies.
Yes.
You said AK, and I got that video of the pump action AK in my head, and I want to vomit just a little bit.
It's yeah, the rifle was fine. It's not fine anymore, but was fine.
Whoever invented that, go lay in front of Kalashnikov's tank.
I have not enough vodka in the world to make this okay.
to make FPS
vodka,
Russia
I'm going
upset.
off the rail. I'm going off the rails on a huge tangent here. Did you guys hear about the liquor out of Ukraine called Atomic? It was made from apples inside that were grown inside the exclusion zone.
I really want some.
And
inside Chernobyl?
Inside the Chernobyl exclusion
in the
zone.
exclusion zone.
Oh,
so the apples grew there. They took the apples, made this liquor out of it, and they were shipping I want to say it was 1,200 bottles or something like that to the UK, and it got seized because it set off their Geiger counters.
It was just individually. So individually, the distillation process removes enough radiation from anything that may have been in the parent product to make it's not going to be harmful. It's not going to affect you at all.
You mean it's fine. We can't drink it and get a third testicle?
Yeah.
Yes. What's the point?
More likely to sterilize you. But no.
That's a good option too. I'm just
still. I mean, it has its uses. But individually,
some of you that vote need to go have a shot.
Yeah, individually, the bottles themselves, as you drink the liquor, even an entire bottle, is not going to provide enough radiation. It's going to do you any harm. In fact, it's lower in radiation versus your average casual background radiation in your day-to-day life. However, when you concentrate a lot of it together in one place, all of those little bits of radiation start to kind of build up. And all of a sudden, you wind up with radioactive liquor, which is, neat. But
I'm gonna warm it up in the microwave.
There were 1,200 bottles of this shit seized by authorities, and it's what the hell?
I really want some because I really want to try it just because it's neat, and I really like weird stuff like that. But it's.
Hey, I'm on board. It's expensive though.
It is really, which is why I haven't ordered any yet. Is because I know I can get it. I have a source in Ljubljana, Lithuania, that I can get it through, and I haven't bothered to try and get one because I know that it's probably going to wind up getting seized. So,
all right. Back to the article. In other words, even unfinished frames and receivers would have to be serialized if they're sold as part of a kit, though the summary from the Department of Justice is silent about whether or not unfinished gun parts would need to be serialized if they were sold by themselves. So if you bought the kit, like the Polymer 80 kit, they're saying it would have to be serialized, but there's no word as to whether or not if you just bought the 80% lower.
And that's exactly what would happen if you made that the case. Everyone would just sell either just the lower, the 80% lower, or just the jig kit, and they would never sell them together again ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in Polymer 80, they used to sell a product that it was the frame, it was the jig, the bits, and the full parts kit with the fire control group and everything else. And that's what got them rated.
Yeah, because they argued that they were making it readily producible.
So then they stopped doing that. Now the kits that they sell now are the receiver, the bits, and the slides.
And this is exactly why Chevron deference is so dangerous, is because it allows a bunch of unelected bureaucrats to just decide arbitrarily to change rules and change things and go, you know what? I want that. Or look at the ATF and fucking pistol braces. All right. If you want to know why Chevron deference is a bad idea, look at the ATF and pistol braces. That's just well, but if you actually hold it to your shoulder, now magically it's a short-barreled rifle. But it's did we say that what we actually meant is that it has to be built to be put on your shoulder, so it's okay if you just put it on. Oh well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is why. But the thing is the definition of a firearm, of what constitutes a firearm, is written in the GCA. It is written.
Which was passed as an act of Congress in 1968.
Yes. And it is written there. It is
right
spelled
here
out.
Qualifies as a firearm. You have a receiver, you have a bolt mechanism, and you have a fire control group, and they're in one cohesive unit.
Actually, the bolt mechanism isn't what it's dependent on. It's the chamber. So wrong end, the front end there. Well, the fact that it has a
but
fire
that's part of the receiver. I mean,
yeah.
Because you've got the barrel could be cut right here and it wouldn't matter. This is still the firearm. From my hand to the back of between my hands is the firearm. That's it. If you don't have all of these components in one cohesive unit, it's not a firearm. Period. End of story. As far as long guns are concerned.
According to the law and what the law says, yes, that is not a firearm.
And that is
according to the federal law.
Yeah. And that is why if this right here, this AR-15, that is why there is not one component on this which meets the definition of a firearm receiver. Not one.
At the federal definition.
At the federal law. I mean, states could independently say it's got to be
like out in Afghanistan.
California will say a feather is a firearm.
Yeah, that's a
stick. You can make it. A stick is a firearm.
A firearm in California, because remember we covered that article.
There have been kids that gotten in trouble for using sticks as firearms in school.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. The proposed rule redefine what constitutes a frame or receiver to not only include those components that are incomplete when they're sold to the public, but also gun parts that don't currently meet the federal definitions of either a frame or a receiver. Stephen Gutowski of the Reload explains in the proposal below, quote, the document also lays out plans to broaden and update the federal definition of a receiver to correct a problem with the ATF's interpretation of the current definition. Courts have begun questioning the ATF's long-running determination that an AR-15 lower is a receiver, despite not including several of the parts required in the current definition. Prosecutors have been forced to drop cases involving the ATF's determination in recent years.
Yep, we've covered several.
Yeah, we talked about one in Southern California. The guy was hosting 80% parties, 80% lower parties. We'd have a bunch of people out, and they'd all mill out at 80% lower, and he got busted for making firearms. And that's what the lawyer did. The lawyer challenged the federal government's definition of
so they dropped it.
Serial firearm, and they dropped it
because within the letter of the law, he was right.
Yes, he was right, and it would hamper their ability to continue to be the tyrants that they are.
Yes, the ATF admitted in the document that, quote, neither the upper nor the lower portion of a split multi-piece receiver firearm alone falls within the precise wording of the regulatory definition, but lashed out at the document as, quote, the erroneous district court decisions that employ a narrow interpretation of the definition.
But it's supposed to be narrow.
Is clearly laid out.
Yeah, it's clearly laid out. It's clearly defined. So here's the other I think what some people who aren't as into firearms might miss here, why this is as scary as it is. If you allow unelected bureaucrats to start modifying this definition and start changing this, once that is established and accepted that it's okay for unelected bureaucrats to go, well, the law spells this out, but screw Chevron and what Chevron said, we're going to just change it at will. Now, what else gets redefined? What else gets changed at will by these unelected bureaucrats? Maybe the USDA decides it wants to change certain definitions at will and just alter things without legislation. Maybe the FDA, maybe
the EPA has been doing it for decades.
Yeah. and just change things at will. And
Well,
suddenly businesses and individuals and things become criminals overnight because they change their minds.
Well, and that's what happened with the whole bump stock thing is they got Chevron deference ripped away from them with that case because they can't just arbitrarily say that this magic piece of plastic that goes on the back end turns that into a machine gun.
Yeah, because according to Chevron, if it's not legally spelled, if it is not spelled out explicitly within the law, the definition of a certain thing, then the people who are charged with enforcing it are allowed to decide what that may mean. However, it is very narrow. If you read Chevron, it is very, very narrow and specifies specifically only in case it's not spelled out in the law. Any case where it's spelled out in the law, they're not allowed to modify definitions or interpret things for themselves because it is defined within the law itself, and they are therefore bound by that.
Mm-hmm.
This is seeking to undo that.
I'm actually wondering how the hell they managed to keep Chevron deference in place with AR-15 lower receivers with the number of challenges that they've had.
They just keep dropping them, and then nobody tries to continue to fight because there's nothing for them to fight in.
But there's nothing to say that they.
You guys are getting ahead. The court's interpretation of ATF regulations, if broadly followed, that's according to the current ATF definition, if broadly followed, could mean that as many as 90% of all firearms now in the United States would not have an identifiable frame or receiver.
Good.
Those firearms would include numerously widely available models such as the Glock Type and Sig Sauer P32013 pistols. They do not utilize a hammer, which is a named component, in the firing sequence.
Yep, they're striker fire guns.
Yes.
That's
why they kind of have crappy triggers.
This right here is my Canic that I've been carrying since I've lost weight because it fits better.
It's Turkish.
It's Turkish, but it's more or less a CZP-10 clone.
It's
what it amounts to.
It's Turkish.
Hey, say it's Turkish all you want. The thing shoots great.
They are good guns. They're really good.
And this is a striker fired firearm. They're right back here.
Which uses a pin with a spring.
Right.
Yes.
So to anybody who doesn't know, so a striker is basically that you have a pin instead of a firing pin that gets hit from the back by a hammer, and then that imparts energy to that, and then that hits your primer. A striker is actually on a spring. And then there's a device that will push that striker back and then release it and allow it to go forward under spring pressure. And that will cause it to have enough energy to set off the primer.
The ATF said it is necessary to update the definition of a receiver to ensure it won't, quote, be misinterpreted by the courts, the firearm industry, or the public at large to mean that most firearms in circulation have no part identifiable as a frame or receiver.
Misinterpreted. It's a legal definition. You cannot misinterpret it.
It's a legal definition. It's a legal definition interpreted and passed by an act of Congress.
Yeah. But they seek to undo it through this executive caveat. Is essentially what it amounts to.
The proposed receiver definition would only require one fire control component, such as a trigger mechanism, cylinder, or firing pin, instead of requiring multiple parts as the current definition does. The ATF said it plans to keep in place the definition on which specific parts qualify as receiver on guns currently on the market, and creates a voluntary process for gun makers to submit new designs for determinations.
So would that mean that this right here is a firearm?
At that point, yeah. So here's where that's dangerous. If a trigger itself, just a trigger, can
By the way, for those that are listening, I'm holding up a fire control group for an AR-15.
Yeah, the multiple parts. It's not a drop.
Under that definition, here's the thing. If you've ever pulled apart certain full metal airsoft guns, their trigger is very, very similar to the actual trigger.
We talked about last week how they had to.
The
guy had to register his Nerf gun.
Exactly. So here's the thing: is airsoft guns, and remember, don't forget, a few years ago, there was an ATF agent in California who raided an airsoft company and seized all of their guns because he claimed they could all be turned into machine guns. And when on video, the local news asked him to elaborate on how they could be turned into machine guns, he had no answer because he didn't know anything about guns. He didn't know how they worked.
Yeah, the article in Bearing Arms goes on. The courts aren't misinterpreting the ATF regulations. They're correctly using the ATF's definition of what makes a firearm a firearm. The Department of Justice now wants to declare that the word frame and receiver now means something differently than what they've meant since 1968. Right?
They were spelled out in legislation.
Yeah, they're spelled out in
what they meant.
Right, and it was intentionally worded the way it was worded.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially,
otherwise
this
you
is
could
seeking.
say, "Hey, I have a piece of pipe here. That is a firearm, according to the ATF."
Yeah, essentially, what this is trying to do is this is trying to undo the entire judicial process of the United States and effectively, in one fell swoop, change us from what is ostensibly, anyway, I'm going to caveat there, what is a representative democracy to an oligarchy of unelected officials, because that is what this will do.
Yes.
Well, I mean, and if we're being perfectly honest, we're already probably 80% there.
Well, we are, yes, but this seeks to codify essentially the idea of an oligarchy in the United States. This seeks to basically say that the unelected bureaucrats get to decide what is and is not a law.
The collapsitarian in me is kind of giggling at this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I mean, what is it? There's an estimated, was it 400 million legally registered firearms in the United States?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. That's not including, 80% lowers. That's not including 3D printed. That's not including That's not including all the ones that were never registered or personal, sales. All sorts of that stuff.
And I'll add this one into the mix because it fits right in with your Wolverine.
Send bachelors, come heavily armed. Yes. But the collapsitarian, we mentioned the line earlier about the state is the great recruiter of anarchists. And since 1968, the government has been using a definition of what is considered a frame or receiver. Now, 53 years later, through an executive order, not through an act of Congress, not through a law passed, not through, the voting, nothing like that, through unelected bureaucrats, they're going to change the definition of what is a firearm or a receiver in an effort to take away people's right to bear arms.
Right. And you got to remember too. So here's the thing that I see happening. If they can just change that arbitrarily, what that allows them to do is say, okay, the lower of an AR is one gun, the upper is another gun. Then they come along, they say, well, you can have any gun you want, but you only get one.
Yeah.
And now you can't own an AR because the lower and upper are two separate guns. They're then suddenly going to be able to do things like that. Well, they're going to be able to pivot.
And that's what I was saying earlier with, if this is assembled, it's one firearm. If you take this apart and you don't store them assembled, all of a sudden it's two firearms. And if the upper receiver isn't serialized, you're technically in possession of a ghost gun and therefore in violation of this.
Well, and remember that all these parts is hollow aluminum. They're hollow plastic. They're just a piece of metal. There's nothing magical about a firearm.
Yeah,
There's
they
nothing...
don't load themselves. They don't aim themselves. They don't squeeze their own trigger.
Yeah.
They don't pop their own safeties off.
When somebody tried to make a firearm less mechanical, I want to say it was Colt. Do you remember, Chris? Was it Colt that did the Extrons? Was that Colt?
Oh God,
that did the Extrons, but they were with the electric primers, like the electronic primers, where they had this weird like battery and this little thing. It was an Extron, is what it was called. I remember there was an Extron. I actually owned one for like 3 weeks before I gave trying to find ammunition for it because I thought it was kind of nifty.
Is that what it is? Fiber optic connector
E-tron?
primer.
It was this weird thing, or it was either Xtron or E-tron.
Remington E-tron X.
That's
okay,
what it
E-tron
is.
X. That's what it was. Yeah, so it was
Yep.
Remington. Okay. Yeah, they
That sounds
tried
about
to
right.
make this like digital thing, and no one wanted it.
Nope.
But the thing is that is as close to some mysterious like magical thing as a gun has ever gotten.
Well, and the way that they're going about it is they could say that stuff like this right here. I'm holding up an 8-pound container of gunpowder. They could say that this right here qualifies as a firearm because it's a component.
The earth-shattering kaboom.
Right.
It's like my neighbor's garage just like burned to the ground a couple hours ago.
But
So
but
all-
that's essentially where they're going with, where this slippery slope heads. If this
Oh,
goes
this is
into
not a
effect,
slippery slope. This is Pandora's box.
yes.
Yeah. See, and that was my point, is like what they're trying to do is they're trying to undermine even the very foundations that allegedly this country was founded on of self-governance and self-determination, because what they're trying to do here is remove legislators from the legislative process.
Yes.
They're
Through-
trying to say
Through again, I'm going to say this again, through unelected bureaucrats.
yes.
Yes.
This
And-
is
and I
turning
would-
this into an oligarchy, plain and simple.
And I'd like to point out that these rules are coming from an agency that was 3 weeks from being completely ripped apart and destroyed after their actions at Ruby Ridge. And the whole
Yeah.
reason they got involved in Waco, Texas was to save face. And all they did was screw the pooch again, but yet they're still here.
Yeah, and then they burned what, 72?
76
people,
total
56,
dead.
56
Yeah.
kids.
76 total dead.
They burned them to death.
Oh.
And the anniversary of that wasn't that long ago.
Nope.
No.
April.
So, well, and don't forget, as of, let's see, we're recording this on the 9th, so 5 days ago was the anniversary of Kent State.
Yep.
And 4 dead in Ohio, if anybody's a Crosby, Stills, and Nash fan.
But they threw rocks.
And they were killed by National Guard troops.
Yeah.
They were
And what
killed
makes
by
you-
U.S. troops on U.S. soil.
Yep.
And
So,
what would
all right.
ever possess you to think, based on everything that we've just covered, just within this episode?
Not only this agency, but how can you look at history? How can you get this far in this episode alone
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just with
Yeah.
what we've covered.
and
tonight.
believe that government should regulate the people's only ability to efficiently defend itself?
Not only that, what makes you think the government has any or should have any authority to regulate
Well, I mean,
anything in your life? They have shown time and time and time and time.
They're a
and
criminal
time.
organization.
They're a criminal
Yes, all right.
organization. They are a legal mafia.
all
That's
right,
all they are.
let's close up and get out of here before we get drone striked.
I don't have that patch with
strike
me.
patch. Yeah,
And
it's, hey.
So,
I'm wearing my Endless Possibilities AR-15 lower receiver patch.
I had to
Uh,
change to my rooftop voter just because the way we were going with this
Right.
episode.
I got my 8-bit. Let's see.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Yep. With the AK. And my always keep your rifle by your side.
No, you're not supposed to identify with the song.
Oh, and
I
and you
I
know, I
identif-
still need
I
to get that in the
identify
mail,
with-
Jason.
what's that?
I still need to get that other one in
Yeah.
the mail for you.
I identify with that game so much.
Oh yeah, Far Cry 5 is what we're talking about. Anybody who doesn't know, there's a point in that game where you start going, "Am I the bad guy? I think I'm the bad guy."
Especially if you think like us.
Yeah, it's there. There's definitely a point where you start thinking you're actually the bad guy here.
Oh.
But yeah, so we plug in. We're doing plugs.
Plug it, yeah.
So buy Derica's book.
Link in
Yes.
the description. Also buy her cool crochet pattern. It's a hungry caterpillar crochet pattern game thingy. Also in the description.
Yep. Also, if you wish to care for your beard like a Viking, I just trimmed my beard because my boss was going to yell at me for letting it get too long. But if you want,
you're looking awfully trimmed today, Andrew.
Yeah, I trimmed that down, but I still keep it lovely and soft and healthy. And I do that by caring for my beard like a damn Viking. And the way that I do that is with the Beard Struggles products. I highly recommend their Gold Scents. They do finally have their sea salt mask back in stock, which is transformative for your beard, I assure you. It smells amazing. It's wonderful, but that is thebeardstruggle.com. If you use code InkedAnarchist15, that is InkedAnarchist15, InkedAnarchist15. At checkout, you get 15% off of your order. Also, go to shopvalerio.com and use code InkedAnarchist25. Get 25% off of really sweet watches, really nice sunglasses. You can look super cool and you can save money while doing it. And coming soon, I will even have a discount code for really sweet fashion designed streetwear coming for you as well. Also, don't forget to check out RTA Magazine, Road to Autonomy Magazine. There's some awesome articles. It is
Dharma is writing an article for the next one. I've already read it, and it's a really good one. So,
make sure you check it out.
Andrew has all these cool plugs and whatnot. I have two. I don't have any discount codes. I don't have anything else. But I tell you what, if you happen to be, haven't been banned from Facebook yet, like I have been banned from Facebook, check out the Village Gunsmiths Facebook page. They have some phenomenal stuff. I have this wonderful shirt here. It says, "Dear Federal Agent living in my phone."
It's a cell phone, and then there's deer antlers on the side, and it says, "Dear Federal Agent living in my phone, don't worry, I just got this to hunt deer."
So they have some great stuff. Also, their social media is absolutely hilarious.
Oh, they're freaking fantastic. They are both me and Chris's go-to gunsmith and purchasing of any weapons.
I share a lot of their stuff on Wolf.
So if you happen to be in Wisconsin and you're listening to us, check them out. They will take care of you. They are good people. Also, I know Andrew's got his thing with the Beard Struggle, but I work with a local guy here who runs a company called Wandering Sheep Beard Care. If you Google them up, it's a hilarious name, but I tell you what, that the beard balm that they give you is phenomenal. I use it all the time because I'm a little more scruffy than Andrew is at this point in time, and it really helps soften it up, so I'm not sitting here scratching all the time.
I just use homemade stuff my kids made me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey man, I'm only trimmed up because my boss was gonna yell at me, and I knew I needed to trim it up, and I realized I look slightly less like a Viking and more like a dad. But hey, I am a dad, so you know what? Whatever.
Yeah, I've got more of the bushy Viking beard going on here.
It'll come back. This was my semi or biannual, I guess.
Summer's coming up. You got it. Cool off. You don't want it to you don't want it to burn over when you're cooking your meat on the charcoal.
Yeah, man, exactly. So
I recently burned a brush pile. Yeah, I burned a brush pile in my yard. If my beard didn't catch on fire from that, it's not going to. I was standing 6 feet from 20-foot flames. All right, if it's not going to catch on fire from that.
If I tried to burn a brush pile in my yard, they would call the cops.
Yeah, probably.
The mayor of the town I live in is just up the hill from me, and I'm surprised she didn't call the cops.
Oh.
See, use beard oil responsibly, not too close to fires, because otherwise there are very bad things are going to happen.
All right, let's get out of here before we get jump striked.
All right.
This has been episode 134. Don't quote me on that.
That sounds about right.
35. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We're in the 130s right now.
It's another episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. If you listen this far, why?
Thank you.
We
why?
Yeah, we love you guys. We love you guys. We appreciate it. Please share with your friends, especially your stated friends.
Yes.
And if any of them really want to talk...
You don't need to waterboard people if you force them to listen to this podcast.
Yes, it counts as torture, I'm pretty sure. It's Anarchy Among Friends, banned by the Geneva Convention.
That would be fucking cool. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.